YouTube built off the backs of independent content, small content. They get too big, they kick the partners out. Same thing happened with Amazon Prime. Amazon Prime deleted thousands of independent films. The excuse they gave was that it did not meet what they thought the customer...
with their customers, with the quality that the customers wanted.
Yes.
Which I think is bogus, because bottom line, it's why delete the content off of the service?
There's two companies I can't name, but they're real, I assure you. They had something like 400 films, something like 100 of them were on Prime, and they were deleted. The point is, they didn't tell the distribution companies. The distribution companies found out about it like a week later when they were looking at their titles on Prime, and they realized that like 100 titles were missing. How little respect. They don't even tell the distributors that they're deleting all their shit.
I mean, how do the filmmakers get paid?
15 cents per hour.
Their movies are not being watched, then they're not getting paid. So it really makes no sense for them to get rid of the content.
They deleted almost all independent content. I'd say all independent content, because if any film in the studio system was deleted, Amazon's not going to do that. And if they do that, they're going to get a call. But what essentially it said was, once a film was deleted, they said there's a digital footprint, so you cannot pull from the master and re-upload. They said don't bother. So this is evidence for the fact that they deleted films based upon taste. There's a limited amount of ways to make money now. If you're not famous, you're not going to make money off of Vimeo. You're not going to make money off of YouTube rentals for your feature. Your best hope essentially is Amazon Prime right now. And they've made it clear that they're happy to delete thousands of films, not tell distributors, and do it for things more than quality control.
So you're basically kind of likening them. This is what Blockbuster initially did with forcing out all of the independent VHS tapes that people were marketing, the direct-to-video stuff.
Yeah.
So you're basically saying that they're really pushing out. I think at this point you were waiting for the next venue.
There's only 4 or 5 media companies. So even when a new company comes out, it's part of a conglomerate typically, and your window is this small. You got a couple year window before they take all your shit, they build up, and then they kick you out.
There is a backlash. There's constantly a backlash against this. The hope is that maybe some other...
Yes, something is going to have to come out. But you did direct this movie called A New Wave.
Yep.
Right?
It's called New Wave. It was independently financed, raised all the money, shot it in Connecticut, New York in 2007, and then got a sales agent that liked it enough, thought he could sell it. Did sell it to a company called Think Film, which you probably heard of. And I was really psyched because Think Film at the time was really cool. It was one of the really cool independent distributors. There was movies I'd heard of. They did Half Nelson. They did Taxi to the Dark Side. They did Murder Ball.
You essentially, when you started, had no connections to the industry.
None.
You managed to raise a good amount of money.
We ran the $250,000.
You cast John Krasinski in one of his first features.
Yeah, that was he had done The Office. He'd done the pilot for The Office. It hadn't been picked up, which was good for us. And I didn't know any of this. He just came in and auditioned, and the guy was fucking great.
I know. Rupert's got a great inside guy.
The killing is the fun part, you know. Attendez, have you boys ever used a gun before?
Yeah, I've used a gun. Coney Island, they're tied down with their real guns. Yeah.
We had made the deal with him, and then maybe a week later, The Office got picked up for, I think, first 6 episodes. It wasn't a tremendous deal. It wasn't a bunch of money up front. It was a little bit of money up front, basically to finish the film. The back end deal was very, very good. So I was like, okay, I can pay. I think we have a really good shot at paying my investors back. To me, that was the big thing, because if I can pay them back, they'll give me that money again. They'll let it ride. Even if it's not gangbusters, I think in a year or so, we should be able to make our money back and then some. And then, the movie came out. I have some inside, one of my producers, your brother, they had some connections with the DVD business. And so he was able to call people and say, how many, normally a filmmaker, you have no idea what sold, what didn't sell, but he was able to call in and get some favors and be like, okay, Hollywood Video bought this many copies, Blockbuster Video bought this many copies, this many went to this rent track, or all these different things. So we kind of put together a number in our head of how many DVDs are out there. We knew how much the wholesale value was. So I'm starting to do the math in my head. We should be past the break-even point here. We should be able to really make some money. So I'm waiting for our first statement. And you're supposed to get a statement, I think every 6 months was in our deal. So 6 months comes, I don't get a statement. So I'm like, okay, I don't, I'm calling people. Okay, I'm getting the runaround. Bruce is calling people, getting the runaround. I think it was up to a year. Finally, after I think Bruce had to go into the offices in New York. He went down to New York. He marched into the guy's office, barged into his office, and was like, "What the fuck, man?" They gave us a statement, and it said we had $100,000 in marketing costs that were deducted off the top, which is standard, and we knew that. I knew that going in. It wasn't a surprise. It was part of the contract. You're still in the red, $30,000. I'm like, the numbers of DVDs that doesn't add up at all with the inside numbers that I already know about. So, but I think that might have been the only statement we ever got, because we didn't get another statement. So 6 months goes by, I'm sitting there, I have, now my investors are like, hey, how did the movie do? I had to borrow $10,000 from my dad to hire a lawyer to try to get our money back. So I was suing just to get the upfront money. And we're not even talking about the money that I think they owe me on the back end, which I estimated to be around $500,000, which would have paid everyone back and then given everybody a little extra. We did a summary judgment, and Think Film were required to pay us. And they actually did. They cut us a check for $5,000. So I gave $5,000 back to my dad. And then they cut us another check for $5,000. I gave that back to my dad. So now we're even. And then we never got another dime. And then they went into bankruptcy. So.
And how common do you think what they did is?
I think that is absolutely how it works. And unfortunately, I think that I'm not saying every company is like that, but I think there are. Listen, the music industry is very similar. There are no shortage of stories of people getting ripped off. There are no shortage of stories of people just getting taken advantage of, And the truth is, I think this is much bigger than the film industry. Our whole legal system operates on whoever has more money is likely going to win, whether it's a murder case or whether it's a lawsuit. It's just how much money it takes to sue someone. So contracts be damned. I didn't have enough money to challenge them. I am one film that Think Film owned, and probably 300, 400 that didn't see a dime. I know just anecdotally, not personally, but the filmmaker Alex Gibney, who did Taxi to the Dark Side, which won the Oscar, he never got shit from Think Film for it.
Oh God.
So so again, it's not even just little people. So if someone that he'd done Client 9, and this guy, he's a well-established filmmaker with people in the industry behind him, with expensive lawyers, with managers, with all those things. He couldn't get it out of these people.
Well, I seem to remember even Peter Jackson had to sue over the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, he had to sue New Line. Yeah. Well, even if I had millions of dollars to throw into a lawsuit, what would it take for me to sue Think Film? And it'd probably take $300,000, $500,000 to sue to possibly get my money back.
Yeah.
And now, so it's not even worth it, right? So that does create this. It creates this environment where it's very, very easy to take advantage of people's dreams. The sad thing is, it wasn't necessarily the folks at Think Film who started the company, because Think Film got bought by a bigger conglomerate, and that's when I think things turned. And it was right around the time I sold my film to them. Mm-hmm. But I figured if you're anywhere in that under $500,000, you should be able to turn a profit.
Yeah. Well, and you did.
I mean,
you did turn profit.
Yeah.
It's just
someone stole it.
What I think is fascinating is one of the last things he said was, Think Film was independent and then sold to a conglomerate, at which point it becomes the studio system. And at that point is when they essentially stiffed the filmmakers. So
is it just the majors though? Because I've heard of stories of smaller companies doing the same thing though.
I don't think any independent distribution company is really making a lot of money. So if you put out an indie film, I think you have to be prepared to expect to not make a ton of money. The honest independent film companies will say, look, we're not going to make a lot of money, just so you know. If you sign with us, this is usually what we sell. If you make above this, we'll pay you.
But what's the reason the independent film companies from turning a profit? Because the channels are there. You would think that the distribution, with the advent of social media, that it's easier to market, it's easier to get the product out. So what the hell is the issue? Is it the middleman?
I think that they don't treat the independent filmmakers the same way. Like Netflix, for instance, when we went to sell some of our films to Netflix, the deal for like a 3-year contract was very bad. It was a couple $1,000s. So they don't
really?
And now they for 3 films and now they don't even deal with independent anymore. And that's something that keeps repeating throughout history. I clearly hit a nerve because several people backed out of doing a VHS Massacre 2 interview the second I talked about predatory tactics of film distribution. And I'm not going after independent film distribution companies. This is something that's true. A lot of independent films just don't make money. And just like the music industry, a lot of albums just don't make money. So there's nothing nefarious there. But I think you got like a 50-50 chance of getting an honest distribution company versus a predatory one. In the studio system, if you're outside of that ecosystem, I think the standard is to essentially fleece you.
Most of the companies are like, I'm not going to pay you. I did you wrong. Sue me. The cost of hiring lawyers to basically, not only just the cost, even if you have the money, the amount of time and effort that you have to put into it on the hopes of getting a fair judgment down the line.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people go, do I want to waste my time doing this, or just kind of like,
yeah, well,
I got ripped off, screw it, I'll learn better next time.
I signed a deal with York Entertainment for this film called Land College Profits. That film was sold in 8 to 10 different territories, 8 to 10 different countries, something like 12 to 15,000 units. We had the same insider information because my brother owned a video store chain, so we estimated they owed us somewhere between $50,000 and $100,000. Now, if I had had that money, if they were ethical and honest, I could have. So I took my $14,000 film and I could have made a $50,000 to $100,000 film. I could have made good on that, and then I could have kept moving up the chain. So if an independent filmmaker does well for a company, and that distributor screws them, then you're not allowing capitalism to actually function the proper way. Because that filmmaker would have gone on to a second film. And what you've done is you've destroyed that possibility. Because if they lost a $250,000, how the fuck are they supposed to get another $250,000, you know? The same story about Jason Carvey is true, is that he was successful. This is what happens when capitalism gets too corrupt, is that it actually doesn't function the way it should. It should be a hierarchy of competence.
It should be, but anytime that you throw humans into the mix, it's the greed factor. Why do I, it's easy to say, I should be honest and reputable and pay you what I owe you. But if I'm looking at $500,000 directly in front of you, and it's like, I should give Tom his $250, or fuck it, I can keep it all myself. And this is a lot of people who are like, yo, I'm not giving you anything.
If I just wait it out,
worst case scenario, I'll sit on the money, get the interest, and if I have to pay you back something, I'll pay you back in drips and drabs. I'm not going to give you the whole thing.
If you're directly within their ecosystem, you're making a studio film. And what I mean by that is that it is a project put forth by the studio. Then you're in the ecosystem. You'll probably get paid. Maybe you're a director for hire. That's how I've made money, like at CBS or NBC, is that you're getting paid to do their work.